sundered lives abide. Come to the place where you will find new life.
In a terrible irony, this may be at once the easiest and most difficult message to preach. I could have actually titled this message differently. I could have borrowed it from a book later turned into a movie by Vice President Al Gore. When he lost his bid for the presidency to George W. Bush, he threw his energy into warning the nation and the world about the deleterious effects of global warming. So he titled his book, An Inconvenient Truth, which was later made into a movie. I could have called this message An Inconvenient Truth. I'll parse that statement in a moment as to why this is at once the easiest and the most difficult message to preach. One of my sons gave me a book by a young man that I met several times and heard him speak. As a matter of fact, he and I came out of the same denominational background. The book caused quite a stir in Christendom. It was titled The Gospel of Inclusion by Bishop Carlton Pearson. And the thesis of his book was very simple. All people everywhere, he said, are saved. Whether they know it or not, whatever religion they may be, whatever their beliefs are, whatever they do or do not do, Bishop Pearson said, all people are saved. He said that if we teach that through Adam, all men became sinners without our participation, why is it that in Christ all of us are not saved with or without our permission? And then Bishop Pearson posits that there is no final judgment and there is no hell. Short time ago, a young man from Michigan named Rob Bell wrote a book titled Love Wins, a book about heaven and hell and the fate of every person who ever lived. And in that book, Pastor Bell basically espouses the idea that in the end, all people everywhere are going to be recipients of the grace of God. All people will be saved in the end. Nobody will be lost. And he also argues that no one will go to hell. I want you to think about that, because these are ideas being set forth in the realm of Christendom. Jesus told a simple story. This is not one of his complicated yarns. This is a simple story. All who heard it clearly understood it. A man and his farm hands went out into the field one day and they planted some wheat. They sowed some wheat. Later on, an enemy, a malevolent figure, comes in behind them and plants in that same wheat field some bad seed. Sometimes later, the farm hands, while looking at the field, noticed that there's some bad seed among the wheat. And so they asked the farmer, did we not sow good seed in the field? Then where comes this tares, this bad seed? Where did this come from? And so they said, now what we should do is you should let us pull out the bad seed and rescue the farm from this interference, this bad inclusion here. Let's just get this out of here. But the farmer said, no, don't do that. He forbade them. Then he gave them the reasons that they could not do it. Let's look for a moment at this bad seed. This bad seed, it called tares in the King James Bible. It's an interesting term. It's called bearded darnel. Darnel is just bad seed in ancient times. And it's interesting because, and you have to get this or you'll miss the whole story. When this darnel grows up, it is indistinguishable from the wheat. You absolutely cannot tell the difference. I mean, they grow up and they look exactly alike. Absolutely no way. The most astute farmer cannot tell the difference in the early growth stages between good seed and this bearded darnel. Just can't tell. Just can't do it. Can't be done. But even more deleterious is that the bearded darnel does not just look just like wheat, but it wraps its roots around the good wheat. So if you go out into the field and snatch it up, you pull up the wheat with it. And then the other part of this is, oftentimes this darnel is poison. So only after you had extracted the whole harvest, you have to take out the whole harvest, and then they would often hire women to sit in the threshing floor, and by hand they would separate the bad seed from the good seed, burning up the bad seed and putting the good seed, taking it to be turned into the proper food, so that they could not do anything with it. Now, as I looked at this text, I said to myself, this is, because of Jesus, one of the easiest sermons it is to preach, because Jesus explained everything he meant in the story. And I realized that there's no way that I can preach better than Jesus. So I decided to just let him preach his own sermon. This is the easy part. Jesus explained exactly what it meant. So the Bible says in verse 37, he just explained everything, and he did it so succinctly. Kind of makes me feel guilty to be able to preach a 25 or 30 minute sermon on something Jesus said in 5 minutes. So, you'd have to be a preacher to get that, I guess. So he says, or as people who like short sermons. But anyway, it says, first of all, the sower is the Son of Man. So Jesus is the sower. Okay, that's simple enough. Jesus is the sower. Got that. The field, the farm, it's the world. Pay attention now. It's not the church. It's the world. Okay, you didn't get that either. It's not the church. It's the whole world. So you got that. So the sower, the farmer, is Jesus. The field is the world. The good seed. Now, last week we talked about seed and soil. No, not this week. This week the seed, verse 38, are the children of the kingdom. People, the people of God, the children of God, the disciples of Jesus Christ, the worshipers of God. The seed are people. The children of the kingdom. Notice it didn't say the children of the church. It said the children of the kingdom. We have to understand exactly what our position is. And one of the reasons we get so frustrated is that most of us refuse to live in the kingdom. Lord have mercy. We come to church, but we walk out of here. We walk out of the church after being in a religious environment and go live a secular lifestyle. In other words, we pray and then turn around and worry. We honor God with our mouths and dishonor him with our lives. Something's wrong with that picture. You ought to be the kingdom in here and out there. And if you know God will make a way, you ought to trust him anyhow. But you got to be careful that you're in the kingdom, because the kingdom is a certain lifestyle. The kingdom is a certain mentality. The kingdom is a certain disposition. You can sleep at night when you live in the kingdom. And all hell might be raging all around you. But you know that God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in the time of trouble. When you live in the kingdom, you say, I'm pressed down, but I'm not destroyed. Trouble, but trouble is good for me. When you live in the kingdom, I keep trying to tell you, saints, oh my God, if you can get this, it'll transform your existential existence. I like saying that. If you understand the kingdom, God rarely changes your position, but he alters your perspective. Give me a man who is in hell with heaven in his heart, and hell can't keep him. Give me a man with hell in his heart, and heaven can't keep him. Do you know why we have so many divorces? I'm going to tell you why right now. It's very simple. Very simple. Yeah, you can tell me what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. But let me tell you what the problem is. But what God, but man put together, God can't keep from coming asunder. You can't keep stuff together if God ain't in it. Oh, the kingdom mentality. And the longer I live, the more I see the kingdom working for me. Sometimes I don't have a dime in my pocket, and that ain't no good position for a bishop to be in with a wife and children, but somewhere. No, it ain't somewhere. My kingdom resources. You see, because here's what you have to understand. Just because it's not in my pocket don't mean it's not mine. I said something right there. See, all of it belongs to me. It just might not be in my hand right now. That's why I can give God his tithe, because all of it belongs to me. My Father is rich. The earth is the Lord's. So if you got on them worried, I'm worried, and how am I going to make it? You just in the church. You ain't in the kingdom. Because in the kingdom, it all belongs to you. And your dad is going to get everything you need. You may be in the storm, but he won't let the storm drown you. You may go to the hospital, but you're going to walk out. Your heart may be broken, but he'll put it back together. He'll make a way out of no way. The children of the kingdom. I can't stay there. I can't stay there. Wish I could. I'm trying to get you in the kingdom with a kingdom perspective. I'm trying to get you to stop living from down here up there and start living from up there down here. I'm trying to get you to live, oh my God, I'm trying to get you to live in that phrase that the old theologians use, I got from my father, subspecie eternitatis. That means living under the light of eternity. In other words, whatever is going on in my horizontal existence, I'm shining the vertical light of God on it. And when you shine the light of God on it, it looks differently. When you shine the light of God on whatever you're going through, you have nothing to worry about. When you know that God is God, and can't nobody stop him, and can't nobody overrule him, and can't nobody veto him. He's God. He's sovereign. He's got your best interests at heart. He's working it out for you. He's making a way for you. I'm in the kingdom. So, we're children of the kingdom. Well, if you believe in that Hegelian dialectic, there's always a thesis and antithesis. The thesis is the idea, the antithesis is the opposite, and the synthesis is the truth that emerges from the two. So here's the antithesis. So first of all, you have the seed. I'm preaching dialectically this morning. Of the kingdom. Wouldn't it be nice if that was the whole story? But the antithesis is the enemy. I wish that booger didn't exist. That malevolent, low-down, dirty enemy comes among the seed of the kingdom and plants something else. Ain't nothing wrong with your life and my life except I got something else. I'd be all right if it wasn't for, and you would too. He planted something else. Well, what did he plant? Well, he planted, I hate to tell you this, but this is the inconvenient truth. This is what I'd rather not preach about. This is the part of the preaching task I wish were not laid upon me. Because, quite frankly, I have the same psychological predilections and propensities that you have, which means I want to be liked, and I really do. I'm just like you. I want to be liked. I want somebody to like my tie. I want somebody to say I'm cute. I want somebody to you can forget that, but anyway, I want people to do me like they do other preachers. Be down the door to hear them preaching. Stand in line to quit it, JD. To hear them preach. I wish it would tell me. I wish the deacons one Sunday would tell me, come back to my little study back there. Say, Bishop Wiley, you got to come and see. Ever see this field and they're standing around the altar? Man, you got to see this. Wouldn't that be nice? I dream or fantasize or maybe a delusion. I really would like to be liked. I really would. I'd like to be a popular preacher with people hanging on every word. Did you hear what he said? Taking notes and twittering each other while I'm preaching instead of sending some other tweets we send. I ain't getting into that. The Lord just gave me a revelation that I don't even want. But I've got to preach this inconvenient truth. And it's not pretty, but here it is. The enemy sowed, or the enemy is the devil, and the tares are the children of the wicked one. Wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to preach that? That there are people in the world that are children of the wicked one. That's hard preaching, y'all. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just say all is well and everybody is right and everything is good? Jesus said that people in the world that are children of the wicked one. And Jesus calls them bad seed. And there are people who resent Christianity because it teaches that there's bad seed. And there are people who fit in that category. And then he said, it's the world. Can't you see it? I want you to think just a moment of people who try to do good. Here comes bad seed to mess it up. People trying to bring peace, and here comes bad seed to bring confusion. Ladies and gentlemen, confusion doesn't come out the sky. And as the Reverend C.L. Franklin used to say, and the devil does not walk. He hitches a ride. If the devil is here this morning, he rode somebody in here. The devil can't steal your car without somebody's body. The devil can't rape your daughter without somebody's body. The devil can't break up your marriage without somebody. You heard me. Somebody said, here I am, use me. I'll break it up for you. The devil can't tell a lie on you. He needs somebody's mouth. The devil ain't never made nothing jump out the air. He gets in somebody and convinces them to become the instrument. An African American passes a health care law, and the devil gets in some congressmen and senators willing to shut down the whole government. An enemy have done this. All right, I agree with you. Trayvon shouldn't have been walking with a hoodie. But what about the little 1-year-old? What did she do wrong? She didn't have on a hoodie and she got shot. You don't want to admit it. It ain't a hoodie. It ain't the Ku Klux Klan. It ain't the Black Panthers. It ain't the Republican. It ain't the Democrat. An enemy have done this. Get rid of hoodies, get rid of dope, get rid of HBO, get rid of Playboy, get rid of cocaine. An enemy is going to find a way to be destructive. Why don't we face it? An enemy have done this. The most advanced country in the world. Ask this juror sitting here, we have more people in America in prison than any other advanced nation on the face of the earth. I'm telling you about the enemy has sown some bad seed. And if somebody's causing confusion in Life Center, an enemy has sown some bad seed. I feel like preaching if I don't. Today I'm going to call that enemy out. Whether you like it or not, there is a devil. Whether you like it or not, there is evil in the world. Whether you like it or not, sin is a reality. An enemy has sown some bad seed. Hate to tell you, everybody ain't good. Everybody don't mean you no good. Smiling in your face all the time, trying to take your place. Backstabbers. Talking out of both sides of their mouth, getting close to you to make you think. An enemy can't hurt you unless he gets close to you. Your enemies can't hurt you. It's that friend that tell you I got your back to put a knife in it. An enemy. America found out in America that whites and blacks take drugs at about the same rate. So why is there a higher arrest rate for blacks? An enemy have done this. Try to be postmodern if you want to, with your intellectual sophistication. Sin is why would you preach about sin, Wiley? No wonder you don't have a big crowd. Why don't you preach like the rest? Why talk about sin? Sin is an old, outdated, obsolescent, antique idea. Maybe it is. But I tell you what, but sin may be out of date, but its effects are still here. There may be no such thing as sin, but the residue is still here. Families breaking up, funerals that ought not be held, a nation in confusion. Sin may be gone, but the effects of sin are still ravaging us and destroying us. Well, so Jesus said, now, you got some bad seed. And but here's the problem. Here's the problem. He says, now, but let them grow together, because the harvest is the end of the world. The reapers are the angels. And when the end comes, gather the wheat. No, first gather the tares and put them in the fire in my barns. Verse 41, the Son of Man will send his angels to gather out of his kingdom things that offend and them that do iniquity. iniquity. See it? Those who willfully and deliberately choose to go against God and do what's wrong. Those who set their minds and hearts to do wickedly and evil and will not hear the voice of God. And here is where, verse 42 is where Bishop Pearson and Pastor Bell disagree with Jesus. Because Jesus said they're going into the fire. And Pastor Pearson and Pastor Bell said no. That's what the book of inclusion is all about. That's what they're saying, Jesus, you got that wrong. They're not going in the fire. Now, 1342 says they're going in the fire. Pearson and Bell said no. Now, I simply want to say to you, you're an intellectual crowd. You're educated. I want to ask you this. Which one do you believe? Bishop Wiley, Taylor, or the Lord? He said it's going to be a separation. Now, I'm not asking you to believe it. I'm just preaching it to you. Jesus said there's going to be a separation. God will separate. There's trouble now, but God's going to separate it. Evil is reigning now, but God's going to separate it. Truth forever on the scaffold. Wrong forever on the throne. Yet that scaffold sways the future. And there standeth God in the dim unknown, keeping watch o'er his own. The arc of the universe is long, Dr. King said, but it bends toward justice. God will separate. Things will not go on forever like they are. God one day is going to call this thing into judgment. Now, you believe Christ or you believe the popular books, it's up to you. But I reported to you this morning what the text says. God will separate. God will separate the wheat from the chaff, the wheat from the tares. And it must be. It must be. See, the judge here, I was thinking about a young man who went to court, Your Honor. And he stood up. The judge says, okay, what do you plead? He said, guilty, Your Honor. I'm guilty. He said, say that again? So I'm guilty. The judge said, now, did anybody coerce you? Anybody ask you? He says, no, I'm pleading guilty. The judge says, all right, you're guilty. You may go. The prosecutor said, objection, Your Honor. He just said he was guilty. The judge said, I know what he said. You may go. Oh, Your Honor, the state objects. Why? The judge says, everybody back there says they're innocent. Do you think I'm going to send this guilty man back there with all those innocent people? I bid you good morning when I tell you this. There's bad in New Orleans, in Life Center, in America, in the world. But there's a warning in the text for you and for me. And here's the warning. You ready for it? Recognize the bad seed. Recognize it. Know that it's there, but don't try to separate it. In other words, God will judge, not you. Don't you judge. She's gay. Don't you judge. He's a pimp. Don't you judge. She's this. All right. But notice, you can't separate. And some of us, we don't want to just preach. We want to separate. We want the church to be the way we say. You know, you have an advantage over me. You can pick me. I can't pick you. You come here because you want to. And when I open the doors of the church, you come in, I can't say, I'll take you, but not you. And when you want to change pastors, you just change them. I can't change churches when I want to. You ain't stuck with me, but I'm stuck with you. I'm not sure I like that. Because when you want somebody new, you just get you somebody new. I'm stuck with whoever stays. That ain't fair, but I'll discuss that in another sermon. That ain't fair. Why can't I change when I get ready? I want her, I don't want him. Can I have him? Okay, so that's off my message. Not really, but I'm but I don't want to judge. I don't want to be the judge. I want everybody that comes in these doors. The good, the bad, those you like and those you don't like. See, if God lets you be the judge, you're going to mess up some stuff. You see, if God makes you the judge because your knowledge is limited and you don't know really who is and who ain't. A man went to heaven one day and he looked around and he had 3 surprises. First surprise, who he thought was there wasn't there. Who he thought would be there wasn't there. Who he thought shouldn't have been there was there. And the third surprise was he was there. I'm warning you, church, don't judge anybody. Don't make yourself a judge. Don't determine who's going to get in the kingdom. You ain't got the key. And as I close, there's another word I didn't tell you. One of the seed is called bearded darnel. Bad seed, bad seed. There's another word called bastard darnel. That means a good seed that went bad. But I want you to know, what I love about the gospel is I don't care how bad you are. I know somebody who can make you better. I don't care how evil you are. I know somebody who can turn you around. I don't care how low you are. I know somebody who can pick you up. I don't care how far you are out. I know somebody who can bring. There is a fountain. There is a fountain filled with blood, drawn from Emmanuel. Sinner's plunge. Bad seed, sinner's plunge. Low down, dirty, nasty, sinner's plunge. Beneath that flood, lose all. The dying thief rejoiced to see that fountain in his day, and there may I, though vile as he, wash all my sins away. So all you people sat there saying, that's it, Bishop. You told them today. You got them straight today, all that bad seed. I got bad news for you. We all started out bad seed. But I'm here today because amazing grace. Amazing grace. I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore, very deeply stained within, sinking to rob but the master. I was talking to Chip Radke from West Bank Cathedral yesterday. He said he's got a man on his staff who is a recovering homosexual. And I looked at him and I said, Chip, we all recovering. Don't you get self-righteous with me. We all recovering. There's none righteous, no, not one. And I close with this and I bid you good morning. Every saint has a past. And every sinner has a future.